2020 was a rough year for everyone and everything, including anime, but overall, I do actually think this year was pretty good for anime, considering everything that's happened. It isn't the greatest year, especially if you compare it to the last 2 years, but it overall was still a pretty good year in terms of some of the shows that have come out that nobody seems to be talking about. There are some that people talked about, but there are definitely some hidden gems that came out this year that literally nobody talked about or probably even watched, and I want to talk about a few of those series to shine a light on some of them, because there really are some hidden gems that aren't sequels to already existing anime series that I want to be known. Starting off the year, we had a lot of shows to choose from because at the time we still didn't know about the C virus. So there was a lot of choice in the winter season of this year, and there are 3 shows in particular that I really want to talk about. Some of which we already talked about, and some you may not have heard of at all, but I'm going to start off by talking about an anime that got mentioned a few times by some popular YouTubers, and that's Isekai. Isekai is a show about 3 girls making anime in the anime club that they founded, but the way that the characters are written just makes the show so entertaining because each of the main girls have different quirks about them. Hell, one of them doesn't even really like anime all that much, but they came together and are best friends, and their interactions together are amazing. The 3 girls truly feel like real friends, and I love that because not even the best part about Isekai. The best part about Isekai is the animation. You can tell that the animators really loved working on this series because the normal scenes of the characters going around look phenomenal, but then we get to the scenes of Midori's crazy imagination, and every time I see one of those scenes, I'm in awe. They look so damn amazing, and you can tell that the animators had a blast working on this series, and hell, the entire anime as a whole, because the show just looks so damn consistently amazing, and the music for the series as well just works so well that the OP is actually godly, mostly due in part to the animation, but the song is great as well, and the OST for Midori's imagination sequences is just so damn good. I can listen to that song on its own and be like, damn, this is a good piece of music, and overall, Isekai is the whole package. A well-animated show with great characters and amazing music, and I love it. Another anime from the winter season that I haven't seen anybody talk about, but I thought was really good, is an anime called Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Now, that title might come off as weird, and will probably put some people off, but I promise that this show is good, and the title is actually a perfect fit as soon as you get into it, because it is a show about yokai, but not like Mushishi or Natsume Yujin. It's a lot less serious and more jokey, but it does definitely have its serious moments. And that's why I really like this anime, because the dynamic between the 3 main characters and their interactions with the yokai of the school was super cool to see, and I love that our protagonist in the first episode gets turned into a fish, and the plot point comes back and back over and over again throughout the series, because if she gets wet, her scales start to show, and she is obviously trying to hide that, so she does a decent job of it at first, until we meet some of the other characters that just change the game entirely. But another thing I love about this anime is the art style. The art style is so unique. I've not seen any other anime look like this one, and it works really well with the setting and the types of characters that they're trying to portray. They could have also gone with a darker art style, and I think that would have worked out for the jokey moments too, but it wouldn't really have hit as hard if they did that, so I think the art style for this series is absolutely perfect. My next life is a Villainess, also mostly just called Villainess, is an isekai anime, but not your typical power fantasy isekai like SAO or something. It's a show that has great characters, an interesting world, and hell, even an interesting, I guess, plot is the right word. Either way, the show really is amazing, and one of my favorite isekai anime because of how different it is to other isekai anime, because first, as the title suggests, the protagonist is a woman, which pretty much never happens in isekai anime. There is only one other modern isekai that I can think of like that, and I wouldn't call her a woman since she's like 8 or 9 years old throughout the course of the series, but still, I think that is cool because it's different and we don't really get to see that very often, and I think that comes in part with the fact that this anime is more of shoujo-esque than most isekai anime, and not so much action-based. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like one real fight scene in this anime because it's not action-oriented, it is definitely more character and romance-oriented, and I think that's a big reason as to why it is so good. The art style of this show is also great and works really well for what it is, because an anime like this is never going to look the best, but for what it is, I think it really works and really looks good. And overall, this anime was somewhat talked about by people at the time, but not enough that I think it deserves. Plus, it's getting a second season soon, so that's also hype because we get to see more of these wacky characters, and I honestly can't wait. Kakashigoda is a really wholesome anime about a single father trying to raise his daughter, while also trying to hide the fact that he's a mangaka that writes ecchi manga, and I love that. But the main thing I love isn't even those bits, it's the underlying story beneath that stuff, because at the end of each episode, we get to see Hime as an 18-year-old girl, and we get this sense that something isn't right. She clearly isn't happy when we see her, and she's also doing a lot of reminiscing and going through old things, and that story point is what makes the show for me. Like, don't get me wrong, the story and characters overall are phenomenal, but those small little sections at the end of each episode just highlight the show for me. But the comedy aspects of the show are always on point, especially when it involves him getting found out by his daughter that he's a mangaka. Those are the funniest bits because you can see just how hard he's trying to hide what he does for a living and how gullible and naive Hime is, and I love it. The other side characters in Kakashikoda are phenomenal as well. All of the women that try to get into Goto's pants are hilarious. He meets them and he tries to learn a skill to impress his daughter, but in the end just ends up impressing all of them, and throughout the course of the series, they make multiple appearances and every time it is hilarious, but Goto's assistants are also great and have amazing interactions, as well as the fact that they're in on the fact that he's trying to hide his identity from his daughter. Just makes everything that much funnier, and the show actually looks pretty good. The art style is nice and cute, but also works really well for those more somber and sad moments as well. And the animation is on point, for sure. It's not over the top, but it's really smooth and definitely looks amazing. Seeing Yesterday for me is an anime that wasn't really talked about and kind of forgotten about after it finished airing, but it's actually really good. It's a romance drama anime, which we don't see too often anymore because every season is just oversaturated with isekai anime, but still. This anime took an approach to things that I thought was really interesting. It focused highly on the low points of the three main characters and really helped to build them up instead of having them go through the same convoluted character arcs that happen in every anime similar to this one. But another thing I love about this anime is that best girl actually wins in the end, which is like blasphemous for anime because that like never happens, which is something that I absolutely love. Plus, the series really looks nice. The art style is semi-realistic style while also keeping the characters pretty simple, and the fact that it takes place in 90s Japan is great because we don't get to see that very often, and I love it. The Day I Became a God is amazing anime. It is in a similar vein to Clannad and Little Busters, but that's because it's a story written by Key Studios, and my god, they can't miss. Every single one of their stories that has been turned into an anime is god tier, including The Day I Became a God. This, as a lot of Key Studios works, is very tragic, but still ends up having a happy ending, and if you're looking to cry, then definitely check this anime out because it will definitely make you feel emotions, as all Key Studios works do. This anime has amazing characters and character dynamics. The characters are all super interesting and funny, and their interactions with the main duo is always great and makes for some really comedic moments, and I love it. The anime also looks phenomenal. The art style and animation of the series is next level and looks amazing. The animation isn't super over the top, but it is super good, and the art style, oh my god, the art style. It works so well with this type of story. Being written here, it makes you love the characters even more, and makes the emotional moments hit that much harder. But seriously, The Day I Became a God is amazing, and I would highly recommend it if you didn't watch it. And one last thing I forgot to mention is the webtoon adaptations that we got this year. Although two of them especially weren't up to par, it was still a huge step forward for the anime community because now it's not just manga and light novel adaptations, but also webtoon adaptations. And the good thing about that is we will get a chance to see amazing stories from people all around the world potentially animated into an anime, which is just so damn cool, and I can't wait to see more potential webtoon and webcomic anime. Now that I've gotten through all of that, I think I have proved my point that this year wasn't that bad for anime considering all that happened, and I didn't even mention all of the sequels that aired this year as well, like Fruits Basket Season 2 or ReZero Season 2, that were also phenomenal this year. This year really was a good year for anime. There was still a few series that I didn't mention because I thought this video was getting a little long, but seriously, I've seen so many people say that this year was shit, and I fully disagree with that. These series and the sequels I didn't mention were all great and entertaining series that I would highly recommend to anybody.